What is one secret your parents can never know? It was me who superglued the fridge shut. I just blamed it on my brother. Replaced bourbon from a priceless bottle of liquor with Evan Williams when I was 15. I found out later my parents were saving the bottle for their 50th anniversary. It was given to them by my great grandpa at their wedding. Still have 23 years to break the news. You have the internet. And 23 years to find a replacement. Put together a bang-ass collection of rare bourbon and an eloquent apology speech. After my sis died, I locked myself in her room and went through everything alone before her friends or my parents went through her stuff to pack it away or give it to her friends. I found naked pics, empty bottles of alcohol and a letter she had wrote, but I guess never gave, to her then boyfriend, telling him the story of how she was our pet as a younger teenager. I threw everything like that out but kept that letter. It's been 12 years and I just found the letter again as I was packing up to make room for baby. I can't bring myself to throw it away. When you guys went to Hawaii, I put Milo, cat, down. He was sick. In incredible pain. Couldn't eat or drink. Couldn't even move to get to the litter box. When you left on vacation, he was too weak to even yell in pain anymore. I couldn't stand to see that cat in so much pain and so afraid, so I did the only thing I could do to help him end his life humanely. My parents were 100% against putting down a pet regardless of how much it is suffering, so they'd be beyond mad if they knew this. Putting a pet to sleep is never easy. But you absolutely did the right thing. Milo was probably thanking you for it. One time I dropped an entire roll of toilet paper into the bowl when trying to change it. I didn't want them to know I ruined an entire roll, so I hid it in my closet, and over a course of a few weeks I would rip away pieces and throw them away. Edit. Since some people seem to be assuming my parents were horrible and I was frightened. That's definitely not the case. I was just a dumb kid that was embarrassed about dropping a whole roll in the toilet. You went to an extreme length to get away with that. So, when I was 6 or 7, we had Christmas with the extended family. One of my uncles was there. And I was always a bit afraid of him because he had done some time for a drug charge and just gotten out within the last year or two. Anyway, I walk into the kitchen at one point. And he is there with this giant wedge of cheese. He looks up and asks if I wanted any. I nod. Because I f***ing love cheese. He says okay. But you cannot tell your parents because you'll ruin your dinner, they will get mad at me, and he slices me a few pieces. We eat in silence and then I leave. Convinced that I was an accomplice in some terrible act with my ex-con uncle. To this day, I have never told my parents. As to what would happen if they found out. Well, then they would know that the reason I didn't eat that one Christmas dinner in the early 90s was because I had already filled up on expensive cheese. My sister and I were reading through my mom's old high school yearbook. And we kept seeing everyone's sign saying something along the lines of, "Congrats. You and X are perfect together. X is not our dad." And we had never heard X's name mentioned before. After a little more digging, we found out she had married X right out of high school. Divorced. And married our father. Neither of us really cared. But it was still a huge shock she hasn't told us now that we're both in our mid-20s. Edit. I subconsciously used X as the name. Not even realizing it came from the most popular story on Reddit at the moment. Well, I would say you dodged a bullet there. Cause now X likes to mess around with married woman. My dad always tells me I was so whipped by my girlfriend back in high school, and the example he always uses is that one time she told me to change out of my sweatshirt. What really happened is that she pointed out the huge cum stain that she left on my sweatshirt the night before, and I figured I should change it to avoid awkwardness on our day out with my family. My dad thinks I lost my virginity earlier than I actually did. He thought he'd walked in on me post sex with my GF at the time. But we'd actually just been play fighting. And the moment he walked in was the moment she decided to put the strap for her top back on her shoulder. After that, I find out my dad's told half of my family about this. And despite me trying to tell him I hadn't done anything, he claimed to have believed me. But didn't. So he'll never know when I actually did. because he believes a lie. Edit. I was 17/18 when the play fight happened. When I was 8, me and my sister cracked my dad's chessboard. We hid the pieces in someone else's trash can. My dad has had it since he was 11. He was 46 at the time and he was fuming mad. He thought he lost it. Looking back, do you think he could have repaired the chessboard? I would feel so guilty if I realized later that I not only broke it, but removed any possible chance of closure. How to use a computer. Apparently, when I got engaged, my very Catholic mother whispered to me, "Has he tried to kiss you yet?" I'm a semi-famous dominatrix, and have been since 3 years before she asked that question. My address. My parents are psychotic. We'll find it sooner or later, dear. That one of my childhood friends and I used to play with each other's penises. It was fun, and we liked it. I'm a married, straight guy, but this information would shorten their lifespan undoubtedly. Experimenting like that when you're young is common, natural, and harmless. Nothing to worry about. Edit. Let me clarify something here. Prepubescent kids fooling around and asking about each other's bodies is what's common, natural, and harmless. If someone is being taken advantage of, being manipulated, etc., or if the situation involves a kid and a teenager, adult, whatever, that is sexual abuse. I feel weird having to explain this, but apparently some people are confused. When I was younger, I read in my mom's journal that she had an abortion before she was pregnant with me. She doesn't know that I know, and I'm not sure how she would react. I'm just glad they decided to keep the second pregnancy. Dear diary. Today I took care of a little problem. I'm pretty sure the statute of limitations are up on this one, so why not? I was a JR in high school and had some friends into LAN parties who were seniors, but I couldn't really join them because my family was pretty poor and neither them or I could afford a computer for me to use at that time. So one day my older friends gave me one of their older PCs, Pentium 3, with a couple parts missing, RAM, HDD, that I could build out for myself. Now about 15 years later, it's turned out to be a great jumping off point because now I'm a successful system administrator and love working in the IT field. I owe it in many ways to that first computer I learned to build back up from scratch and make my own. Only they didn't give me that computer. We stole it from the high school. Sorry not sorry. I totaled my first car when I was 16. They knew about that. They came to pick me up and talk to the police officer while I was moving things from my car to theirs. What they didn't know about was the liter of vodka in my trunk, which I quickly and quietly speed walked to my parents' trunk. Neither the cop nor my parents knew a thing. I very nearly shat my pants. Disclaimer. I did not drink and drive. That I used to sneak into sister bedroom after bedtime and play Game Boy with her. I held my breath for a moment. I can never tell them that my number one goal as a parent is to handle relationship issues differently than they did. They went through an extremely messy divorce when I was 8 and my only memory of them together is them screaming at each other and my sister and I hiding in our rooms. Then it was 10+ years of them talking shitty about each other to us, putting us in the middle of all their arguments, and giving us a huggy guilt trip whenever they felt like we were spending more time with the other one than with them. It's been 20 years now and my mom will still talk shitty about my dad and stepmom every once in a while, despite me asking her over and over to stop. I am happily married, but if I were to ever get divorced, I will never put my daughter in the middle of arguments, speak badly about her father to her, or make her feel guilty for having a relationship with him. It's the number one thing I learned from my parents and I think they would be devastated to realize the true effect it has had on me. When I was in elementary school, I was at Target with my mom and sister. At the checkout counter I saw these cinnamon flavored Tic Tacs, and I had to have them, because I hadn't fully developed the whole want-need function in my brain. I knew my mom wouldn't buy them for me, so I grabbed them, sneakily, and put them in my pocket, sneakily. I felt pretty guilty the whole way home. And didn't make eye contact with anyone in case they could read my mind. As soon as I was inside the safety of my home, I made my way upstairs, sneakily, and opened my hot goods. They were awful. Easily my least favorite Tic Tac. I ended up throwing them in the garbage can outside, sneakily, to avoid any suspicion. This is my shame. And I carry it alone. Except now with theoretically thousands of people. TLDR. The only time I ever stole anything. The fruits of my victory turned rotten in my mouth. The police are on their way. Targets don't forgive. Targets don't forget. The authorities have been notified. I was a cam girl for a while. Also my first boyfriend was a predator. Not in the fun alien way. The window I closed wasn't really a pop-up. I signed a lease for an apartment in Florida before I came back home from my internship down at Disney. I came back home and never went back down. I paid for it for a year. My roommates wouldn't let me have someone's sublease. It was a horrible situation and I f'd up. I don't need to hear it from my parents on how stupid and young I was. I spent the night in jail for possession of marijuana 5 years ago. Not a big deal really, but it would kill my mom if she found out I have been in a jail cell. That I was the one that blew up the toilet. To this day my stepdad thinks someone broke into my house, smashed the toilet, and left. Edit. Bullshit. There is no way an adult would actually believe that there is a toilet smasher running around committing breaking and entering just to smash a toilet. I seriously hate when someone break into my house just to smash my toilet. Everything and anything I do on my computer. When we were staying at a friend's place on holiday, my so and I accidentally broke a guest bed. Like, one of the legs gave way and the whole thing collapsed. It was an ultra cheap metal frame and so found a meat cleaver and we banged the bejesus out of that bed to get it back into shape. To no avail. I had to ring my friend and confess. Due to the conservative nature of my parents and their firm beliefs, we have allowed them to believe that we are chaste and good and would never actually have sex. You gross. We haven't lied. But we have certainly been guilty of omission. We are getting married this year. And my friend with the broken bed is a bridesmaid. And is working on her speech. We banged the bejesus out of that bed. Yeah, you did. How will we fix the bed frame? Well, I'm pretty sure beds are made of meat. Obviously. But we have no cleaver. Dang. Wait. I think I saw one earlier in the drawer with the wrenches and tools. Save. Get the cleaver, you horny bastard. My sister, stepbrother, and I are all adults now. Ranging from mid-20s to early 30s. I was the oldest. So I had already moved out by the time my sister was a teenager. We were all out to dinner with our parents recently. Exchanging funny stories back and forth. Then this came up. Stepbrother, to my sister. I guess we're all old enough for this story now. So, remember how you would call me to see if our parents were awake yet? Sister. We are not old enough for that story. That's where it ended. But I assume my sister was sneaking out at night and calling my stepbrother in the morning to see if it was safe to sneak back in. And despite being in her late 20s now, still doesn't want my parents to know about it. Edit. Yael Mothefkas need Jesus. I was sure you were going to say they were sleeping with each other. That the reason I have such low self-esteem is because they always berate me and make fun of me. I'm not that close to my parents. But as an adult I'm a lot mellower and recognize the fact that they're nice people who did their best. So, there's nothing that would be catastrophic for me if they found it out. But I'd be a little glum about the unnecessary trauma it had put them through if they ever found out how many people I've slept with. How many of them were dudes. Or the sheer quantity of drugs I did at one point. I am stubborn like everyday PLZ, don't tell mom. She can smell your mayonnaise. My actual grades. I'm adopted. Me too. Damn. If my mom knew. It would break her heart. I didn't have their consent to use the internet and visit PBS. Org. That I lost my virginity when I was 15. They think I was 18. My parents think I'm a virgin. They are correct. That party I threw in high school when you guys were out of town for the weekend that you found out about you to my snitch ass neighbors. Wasn't just some guys drinking beer and playing poker, it was actually an ecstasy fueled orgy. And yes, your bed was used. What the FCK kind of high school do you go to? My husband is actually a woman. My mom read through my Facebook messages and found out that I had sex with 3 people. She called me a SLT for years after. She never needs to know what that number actually is. Mine similar. My mom walked in on me and a friend. I didn't have a boyfriend at the time. This was just a very close FWB, cuddling after sex once. I was 19. And she called me a SLT for a really long time after. Like would send me letters and emails. Basically just to call me a SLT. Try not to suck any dick on the way to the parking lot. Your mom sounds like a very unhappy person. Santa is real. Nobody tell them please. It would break their hearts and someday they'll figure it out on their own anyway. Edit. This was gilded. I have no idea what the appropriate response is, so I'll just say thanks and Google the appropriate action. Thank you. I know. My parents told me when I was about 10 that honey, Santa isn't real. I thought, whoa. How can you live in such denial? All the drugs I've tried. Or rather, how many times I've tried them. They know I tried some shti and I know they tried some shti. But I'd like to keep it vague. Why? Cause my mom is always worried about me. And she can't help it. This thread makes me feel so much better about my relationship with my parents. I'm Zach. Sorry about the little dick. This will come too late to ever be seen. That I was homeless for more than 2 years. During the recession from 2008 to sometime in 2010. I lost my job. And eventually was kicked out of my apartment. I had a 10-year-old car that was paid off. So I lived out of that until I found a series of jobs cleaning houses. Working in a recreational center part-time. Parents lived 1,000 miles away and I managed to keep a mailing address at a friend so they never realized. It would have killed them that I didn't want to ask for help. I wanted to do it on my own. That I don't love them. That I'm bisexual. Apparently B people will just duck everything that moves according to my dad. I would get disowned. Edit. FCK not duck. Stupid autocorrect. Edit 2. A comment about me being B has almost tripled my karma. Upvotes for all. Does he fear you'll enter the pro dodgeball scene? I cross-dress. For context. I had talked to my parents for consult about my interest in becoming trans, MTF. And they literally just shut me out from everything. Like, no internet. No school. I couldn't even talk to friends or family until they somehow killed any remote feelings for it. Took a week of home boot camping on why no one would ever accept a transgender. Not even my parents. And how I would be alone for the rest of my life. Now I can't own anything that has a girl remotely in it, otherwise my parents will think I'm contaminated again. After a year of a bit of self-discovery. I just found out that I like pretending to be a girl with a penis. So I got that going for me. How much sex I had in their house between sophomore year and junior year of high school. They know I have had a lot of sex there over the past 5 years with my now fiancée. We are 25. But I think they would be mortified how much I used at basements for porking my HS girlfriend. When I told them that I was sleeping over at my friend's house for 3 days and that we had a lot of activities planned out in celebration of our successes in our exams. I actually went to Barcelona, then France, then Italy. The amount of cocaine and hookers I indulged in while I was making a shitty load of money from that company I embezzled from. True story. Confession to 3 felonies in one post. I believe that ties the record. Leonardo DiCaprio. It was me. I broke that thing when I was 12. I owe you like $5. I'm sorry. Remember when you broke that thing when you were 12? It was Emmy Barry. I was the thing.